St Bernard Composites, based in Farnborough in the UK, provides composite engineering services to the aerospace industry.
Up until the year 2000, we were cutting all of our templates by hand. I employed 5 people. Everything was done either using a template or just straightforward rules, and it was cut using scalpels or scissors. Very labour intensive, and the difficulty with that obviously is that we recognised that it was not the most efficient way to be doing cutting, and secondly, it wasn't giving us the best yield out of the material.
The exact cutting machine was installed in 2001, along with a cam system provided by the machine manufacturer. However, it soon became apparent that while cutting time and quality improved, there were bottlenecks before and after the cutting process.
The nesting software that we were utilising at the time was not dynamic at all. It was static driven, and we had an engineer full-time who was just employed in nesting patterns, and it very much was a trial and error process. He would sit there and play and see how many he could get in, how many patterns he could get into a given area. One of the things that we realized was that as our jobs started to increase in terms of pattern size, both length and width, what we really needed was a conveyor system. And so we invested about 3.5 years ago in a Zund cutting machine. Zund gave us some immediate benefit. Because it is a conveyor, it meant that we could deal with longer patterns in a single cut, and it also assisted us with our retrieval, because it meant that for shorter nests you can move the material down the table, you can be retrieving off of one end of the table whilst the machine is busy cutting at the other end. So we saw some benefit in that straight away. So in about 2004 we started looking around at other nesting software, other nesting applications. We carried out a number of trials where we gave our 2 chosen competitors some templates that we use, some files, and asked them to nest and come back with their yields and other time information and so on. And I have to say that during that process, JETCAM outperformed the competitor by about 2%. And what we were seeing typically was in the region of a 4% saving on our existing nesting. We felt that the algorithm that JETCAM used was much more user-friendly. We invited JETCAM in, and we did challenge JETCAM on some of their figures, as we did with the competitor, and JETCAM were able to substantiate to us how they got to the yields that they gave us during the test program, bearing in mind that this was not us running the test, this was us saying to JETCAM, here are our templates, here are our files, you nest that please and come back, comparing that against what we already knew we could achieve through a manual nesting process. And our experience with JETCAM was very positive, certainly very proactive, prepared to go into quite a bit of detail about how they had achieved the results, and prepared to give a generous amount of information even though we had not awarded the contract at that point.
In 2006, St Bernard chose to standardise on JETCAM Expert, purchasing 2 licences, each with post-processors for both machines, and JETCAM's freeform high-performance nesting module. A licence of JETCAM Orders Controller was also purchased to provide external management of JETCAM's order lists. Craig noted initial concerns regarding JETCAM's ability to drive the Zund.
We had had a bad experience with our previous software where we were told that it would drive the Zund, and we had a number of difficulties achieving that. JETCAM assured us that their post-processors worked for both the Exact and the Zund machines, and I have to say that our experience was that we pretty much plugged it in and it drove straight away.
Training was performed on site. Craig was impressed with the feedback that he received from his staff.
I questioned the people who had been trained quite closely at the end of that process, and they were able to clearly demonstrate to me they understood how the software worked. and that definitely eased our implementation process. The implementation process itself was pretty straightforward really. We took the DFX files that we had already and imported them into JETCAM and then set about structuring our nests. And we were able to start switching over from our existing nesting software to JETCAM quite quickly. And that meant that we saw a benefit fairly early on. It wasn't a case of having to wait until we had converted 400 or 500 nests, convert one and start cutting. So there was a pretty quick return for us.
What was immediately noticeable was the dramatic reduction in time from DXF to cut ply. Pierre Engrand, project engineer, commented, "We're using single component automatic processing, also known as SCAP, to process DXFs. And this is saving us literally weeks. Each DXF was taking anywhere up to 20 minutes previously to import, clean and apply profiling information before nesting. Now SCAP does this all automatically. We can also create nests dynamically if we need to, for example if we have to remake some plies." The handling properties of composites can differ greatly, with materials such as BMI carbon, costing $93 per square metre, requiring a slow cut as the material can fray. JETCAM Expert has the ability to specify the cut speed, which improves the quality of the cut and reduces material scrap. On materials where the cutting characteristics allow, the blade speed has actually been increased, giving an additional speed benefit. Facilities such as continuation of cut after reposition make further use of the conveyor system on the Zund machine and allow for plies that are potentially larger than the machine bed size to be run. When the material properties allow, common line cutting is also used to reduce material waste by using a single cut to separate plies. In addition to the savings seen on the shop floor, the sales department has also benefited from the installation of JETCAM Expert. Material utilisation and runtime estimation are used to produce much more accurate quotations. This has been so effective that in 2007 St Bernard purchased a third licence of JETCAM Expert exclusively for this purpose. In the 12 months that St Bernard Composites has been using JETCAM, they have seen a rapid return on investment, with initial costs recouped within 6 months. JETCAM are working with St Bernard to develop a material management module with a view to integration into their MRP system. Support requirements have also been minimal.
I'm not aware that we've had to call on JETCAM to support us to any extent whatsoever, and from my point of view that's almost a positive. It does what it said on the can, it's in, it's working, and it's pretty much trouble and maintenance free. That means that we're focusing on using the software, not worrying about problems with the software. We probably have one of the most heavily utilised zoom machines in the industry. Using JETCAM, we're able to maximise what goes through there, both in terms of yield and performance of the machine. Our operators find it far easier to use than the previous software we were having to utilise, and therefore we just have a better morale in that area because they feel they have a tool that allows them to work and do the job that they're tasked to do. From a supervision point of view, clearly at that volume of work, there are targets, there are supervision targets in there, and again, JETCAM as a management tool will allow us to continue to improve our processes in there. We operate in an industry that is driven by cost downs, and when we're signing longer term contracts with our customers, we're having to commit to cost reductions over a period of a program, and that is very difficult in a supply chain that is restricted by its raw material and where those prices are not negotiable. So the only area that we can achieve those cost downs are by finding efficiencies internally, and JETCAM has contributed to our ability to do that.